Welcome to the grand overview of NUR 401, the writing workshop. So unlike Calvin and Hobbes in this cartoon, we're going to be going through all of the steps of the writing process to construct a solid argument. Now, this lecture will take you through all of the steps very quickly to give you a very broad overview of what we're going to be covering throughout the whole course. Now, don't panic if you don't understand all of this right now, because I promise that we'll work through each step together and it will all make sense to you before you're asked to do it on your own. So, here we have the general writing process, and you can see that it's simply a way to prepare your thoughts and ideas to be shared with the rest of the world. Now, if you're like some of my previous students, you probably haven't given yourself the opportunity to go through the entire writing process because many of us struggle with writing or we wait until the last minute so we aren't able to present a fully polished product to the world. But in this course, not only will you have that opportunity, but you will also have my guidance and support throughout the semester. So before you begin any writing, I would encourage you to consider the rhetorical situation. For example, I received a lovely piece of writing from a student last semester, but the format was very informal. It would have made a great blog post, but it was not in the scholarly writing format. So knowing your audience is crucial, as well as your format. In scholarly journals, you are writing to your colleagues. In an argument paper, it's best to view your audience as the opposition so that you don't make assumptions that could weaken your paper. The topic in this course must be related to the health field and preferably a topic within your profession. We want to get you thinking about papers that you could possibly polish later on in your career and publish and share with the rest of the world. So there are many purposes also for writing, and the purpose of scholarly writing is to contribute to the professional dialogue of your colleagues. Of everyone. The purpose of writing an argument is to convince the reader that your opinion is the most logical and reasoned of all. So just a general word to the wise, make sure that your writing fits the occasion. Okay, next, writing is a very helpful way to clarify your thoughts about a topic. The first step usually involves a burning question, something that you want to learn more about, an idea that you want to share with the world, or a problem that you see in the workplace that you really would like to solve. Next week, we'll be starting with a brainstorming exercise to help you find a topic that you are curious or even passionate about. And these are just an example of some of the strategies that we might use to help us as we brainstorm. Now, once you have a topic, you will need to research its viability. There are several methods to help you record your findings. Some people like to make a copy of the article and they highlight and write on the actual text. That's called annotating the text. We'll be talking about that. In high school, I was encouraged to write important ideas and quotes I found on note cards with reference information. It might work for you. It didn't work really well for me. Next week, I'll be showing you the Cornell Notes method, which you see right here. And the week after that, we'll talk about the rhetorical précis method. If you paraphrase and summarize as you research, you will save yourself from needing to worry about plagiarism later. So learning how to take good notes will be very, very important and helpful to you in the long run. So here's just a brief overview of the rhetorical précis method of summarizing, which again we will cover in more depth later, but I just wanted to share that in our overview. And in addition to creating a summary of the article's main points, you can also use the rhetorical précis and to extend your analysis. And I learned this method in graduate school, and this format really helped me to fully digest the research articles that I was reading rather than just rolling my eyeballs over the page. So these are some of the additional parts of the précis that we'll be talking about and you may find helpful for you to use. So the great thing about the writing process is that it's recursive. Anytime you need to go back and brainstorm or do more research or do more planning, you can. Once you've done some initial research, you should be getting a sense of whether the topic is suitable for the assignment, or if some of your initial ideas need to be narrowed down, expanded, or revised. So you might need to go back to this stage, and that's fine. After your initial research, you might also be ready to start organizing your thoughts and information. In this example, the author put the research question in the middle and started thinking about other questions as well as possible answers, and created like a spider map or a concept map to help her think about how to organize her thoughts as well as what she was researching. That's another tool that we'll be experimenting with. Once you've brainstormed a topic, you've done your research, you've organized your thoughts a bit, you're ready to write a draft thesis. Now, I guarantee that you will need to revise your thesis as you continue to write, but the draft thesis is our first attempt at creating a focus for our paper, and the focus is essential for creating a solid paper of any kind. So once you have your focus narrowed down a bit, you are ready to consider the overall structure of your paper and how your ideas might fit into that. So a tried and true method to help you create the skeleton of your argument is the outline. I will be expecting you to try a sentence outline to help you organize your paper into the proper argument structure. It will also be very helpful for me to see where you plan on going and measure that against what you're writing so that we can compare and make sure that you're following a logical train of thought as you write. When you start producing your own research, your rhetorical format might look more like this. We're going to be following a slightly different structure for our classical argument, but I did want to share with you, especially as you start digesting research articles that other people have written, this is this will be a very familiar format to you. Now, some people like to do the first draft before the outline, but in this class I'm going to ask you to draft the outline before we write. Because an argument has to be carefully structured, I think that this will help you in the long run. When you do start writing your first draft, however, I am going to ask you to turn off that inner critic. Don't worry about typos, spelling, grammar, APA, any of that stuff when you are writing your first draft. I want you to write down all of your ideas as fast as you can, just like you are running a race. Some people call this a vomit draft, or it's just you just trying to get all of that information that you've been storing in your head and on paper and just get it all out in written format. Now, there are two ways for you to write your draft. One is without notes and one is with notes. Whichever method you choose, this is the part where you may be tempted to copy and paste the work of others. But if you have done your due diligence by using the Cornell method or the rhetorical précis, it will be very easy for you to determine the source of every idea or statistic you use so you don't accidentally take credit for the work or ideas of others and fall into the plagiarism trap. I will warn you that after this class, your professors will expect you to know how to properly give credit to authors for their scholarly work, and if you don't, you will risk getting kicked out of the program or having some kind of disciplinary action against you. Plagiarism is taken very seriously in the academic community, and that is why I'm taking a whole semester to show you how to use APA style to cite everything that you quote, paraphrase, or summarize from someone else's work. So again, writing is not a lockstep process. After drafting, you may need to research more or write more. So once you've fully completed your first draft, you might need to go back and do some shaping of your paragraphs or add more evidence. But whenever you're done writing down your ideas, it's highly recommended that you put it away for at least one day, and then you can return ready to begin the revision process. Now, the revision process. This is where you take a step back from your writing to look at it critically. What's good? What needs to change? I am going to show you how to use the hierarchy of concerns to guide us through our revisions and our peer review process together. This will be a game changer for those of you who have struggled with how to improve your initial writing and not being able to get beyond that step. with the hierarchy of concerns, we focus on the thesis first. Once you have a very clear focus, then we can move on to looking at the structure. Once we make sure that your structure of your paper is solid, then we can focus on adding support and detail. So there's a very specific way that we're going to work through this together. And as I said, you don't have to know all of this now. We're going to be going through this step by step together. So, we are focusing on argumentation in this class, and that is because it is my belief that all good papers argue a unique point, and that is what encourages professional discussion, dialogue, debate, and even actions that improve our practice. So we are going beyond writing just an informational paper in this course, and we are learning how to share our reasoned opinions with the world. These are just some examples of some general modes of rhetoric, and as I said before, we're focusing on the very last one, which is argumentation or persuasion. These are the specific modes of rhetoric, and these are specific methods that you can use to support your argument. I'm sure some of these will look familiar to you from previous writing classes. Although you may have learned to write an entire cause and effect essay or an entire comparison and contrast essay, now you're going to learn how to use that specific format or method at the paragraph level, or even smaller than that, to add strength to your argument. So there's a reason why your teachers taught you that those modes of rhetoric so long ago, because once you become fluent and familiar with them, you can use them to build a very strong argument in your writing. Now we will talk more about how to use line editing to add style and polish to your writing. This is at the bottom of the hierarchy of concerns, so you know that if you get to this point in your writing, you will have completed the entire writing process. I always save the nitpicky details until the very end, because you never know what parts you're going to keep, what parts you're going to add or take away, so don't waste time on the little nitpicky details until you know that everything else is solid. There is a reason why the hierarchy of concerns is so helpful in our revision process. It saves us time. So, in review, the important thing to discover in this course is what your writing process is and what tools work best for you. So I'm going to be throwing a lot of different tools at you and saying, here, try this. What do you think of this? Does this work for you? And I'll explain all of these techniques to you in greater depth as we go throughout the course. And I want you to just feel free to keep whatever works for you and leave what doesn't serve for you. You don't have to use it again once you've tried it in this class if you know that it was too onerous for you, or it didn't provide fruit for you. So that's the quick overview of what we're going to be doing this semester. And I think that gives you a bird's eye view of what we're going to be focusing on over the next 14-15 weeks together. I hope you're as excited about it as I am. I hope this didn't scare you. By the end of the semester, you're going to look back at this PowerPoint and you're going to say, wow, I know how to do all of this stuff. This is amazing. Look at how much I learned. Or you might say, well, I knew a lot of this already and I got a chance to practice it. Wherever it is, we'll definitely have a chance to reflect on how your writing process and journey was throughout the semester. So we will save that for the end. But thank you for hanging in there with me, and this is just a preview of coming attractions, so I hope you've enjoyed it.